Hey, are you ready for chapter 3 of The Talented Clementine? Here we go. There's the drawing at the beginning. I noticed the drawing always gives a little clue as to what's going to be happening in the chapter. It's like a little sneak peek. When I got off the bus, I saw my dad outside trimming the ivy that grows between our building and the sidewalk. He pointed to an extra pair of clippers beside him. "You're 8 now, sport. I think you're old enough to handle these." So I picked up the clippers, even though I am not so fond of pointy things, and started trimming the ivy with him. After a couple of minutes, he said, "You were kind of quiet at dinner last night. Is anything wrong?" I wanted to tell him about having no talents for the talent show, but just then the junior high bus pulled up and Mitchell got off. He came over and asked what we were doing. "Got to keep after this ivy," my dad told him. "It grows so fast it could cover the windows and be all over the sidewalk if I don't keep cutting it back." Mitchell dropped his backpack. "Whoa," he said. "Do you mean that if one of the Red Sox was walking by and the ivy was shooting out onto the sidewalk, it could trip him, and then he'd be out for the rest of the season, and then we might not be in the playoffs or the World Series?" So the Boston Red Sox are a baseball team, just like the San Francisco Giants. "Well, that's not exactly the reason the condo association gave," my dad said, "but I like your reason better. We're playing an important role in the outcome of baseball history this year." He held his clippers out. "Want to help?" "Whoa," Mitchell said. "Dude." He high-fived my dad and then took the clippers. "Thanks." Mitchell began trimming the ivy, and my dad sat down on the brick wall to rest. They started talking about baseball. "We live in Boston, and Mitchell is obsessed with the Red Sox. He's going to be one when he's older. If I ever get married, which I will not, I would like to marry a Red Sox player, but not Mitchell, because he's not my boyfriend. Then you could get all those hot dogs for free at the ballpark." Is that a good reason for marrying a baseball player? That's funny. "Did you ever see a strikeout perfect game?" my dad was asking Mitchell. "I did once in the minor leagues. It's a thing of beauty." "What's a strikeout perfect game?" I asked. "It's when a pitcher throws only strikes for a whole game," Mitchell told me. "Wow," I said. "So 81 strikes in a row?" Mitchell stared at me, and you could tell he was trying to multiply strikes and outs and innings in his head. "Don't bother," my dad told him. "She's a genius at math." "Whoa," Mitchell said for a third time. "Awesome." Then he walked off, shaking his head, probably to try it out on a calculator. Looks like Mitchell pitching, or thinking about pitching. Dad picked up the clippers and got back to work. "So," he asked, "is everything all right, sport?" "Well, I was wondering if we might be moving." "Moving?" he repeated. "Right," I said. "I was just wondering if you might be getting a new job in Egypt." "You thought I might be getting a new job in Egypt?" I nodded. "On Friday." "Well, that's an odd one." "No, you don't have to worry about that anymore. We are definitely not moving to Egypt on Friday. In fact, we have no plans to move anywhere, anytime." Then we trimmed the ivy some more, and I got a good idea. My dad says I'm the queen of noticing interesting things. He says he's just learning from a master, but I think he's pretty good at it too. For a grown-up, anyway. So I asked him if he'd noticed any good talents lately. "What do you mean?" "Well, not the normal ones like singing or dancing or playing an instrument. Those are boring. I was just wondering if you've seen any pizzazzy talents lately." "Well, let's see. In the park this morning, I saw a bunch of guys flying kites with fishing poles. They were really good, really talented at it." That would be kind of hard on stage. Any other ones?" "Well, on the way home, I was walking behind a woman. She had a poodle, a pocketbook, and a cup of coffee, and she was talking on her phone. I have no idea how she juggled all that." "Juggling was a good talent." "Thanks, Dad," I said. Then I went inside. Luckily, I found everything right away. My mom's pocketbook was right on her drawing table, and next to it was half a cup of coffee. The phone was under my bed. Probably String Bean left it there because I'm sure I didn't. Then I found Moisturizer, remember that's her cat, and scooped him up. Okay, fine. A kitten isn't the same as a poodle. This is called making do. Let me tell you, it's pretty hard holding all those things at once. And before I could toss everything into the air and start talking on the phone, Moisturizer saw a bird outside the window. He jumped out of my arms and everything else crashed to the floor. And I learned the difference between crashed and smashed. Crashed is easier to pick up, to clean up. Also, I learned that coffee is easier to clean up when you spill it on a new brown rug. You hardly have to touch it at all. And there she is. Oh no. Disaster. I went back outside and asked my dad if he had any other talents to tell me about. He put down his clippers. Why all this interest in talent all of a sudden, sport? I reached into my pocket and pulled out the stupid flyer and gave it to him. Talent Palooza, Night of the Stars, he read. That's quite a title. I pointed up to the 5th floor. Oh, he said, Margaret. I nodded. And Margaret has hundreds of talents. She's going to do something really pizzazzy at the show. So you're trying to think up something pizzazzy to do too, right? Not exactly, I said. I'm trying to think up anything to do at all. I don't have any talents. Are you kidding, Clementine? You're the most talented person I know. Of course, he has to say that. He's my father. Still, for a minute, I started thinking maybe he and Mitchell were right. Maybe I had some really great talent I just didn't know about yet. Then he started talking again and ruined it. Take pruning ivy, for instance, he said, nodding at my wall. You're a natural. One day, and you're already the best in the business, sport. Dad, my dad thinks he's funny. Mostly I do too. Or thinking of things to put on toast. Remember the lime jello? I still can't get over it. Sheer genius. Wait, lime jello on toast? I don't know. Dad, I'm serious. Okay, seriously, let's see. You're good at math, obviously. You're an amazing artist, and you're really good at seeing things from a fresh angle, having new ideas. Remember how you won the Great Pigeon War for me? And you're the queen of noticing things. You're curious, and you ask the most interesting questions. Dad, I stopped him. I can't do those things on stage. But he wasn't paying attention. And you're very empathetic. Do you know what that means? I shook my head. Maybe it was something like good at a musical instrument nobody knows about. My dad sat down on the wall again and patted a space next to him. I sat down too. It's a wonderful thing to be. It means you're good at figuring out how other people are feeling. You care about that. And suddenly I was very empathetic. I saw that my dad was starting to get worried about me, and he was going to feel sad if he couldn't help me. So I jumped up. Thanks, Dad. I feel better now. I gave him a big smile and hurried inside in case he was feeling empathetic too, in case he could see what I was really feeling. This little picture of Clementine and her dad. All right, that is chapter 3. We'll see you tomorrow for chapter 4.